Still, critics say Canadians should be demanding more answers in light of the recent revelations.
The two allegedly turned ordinary pressure cookers into improvised explosive devices filled with rusted nails, nuts, bolts, and washers.
Their rights and impinge on the rights of individual citizens, the safer they will be in their racket.
Looking for any signs of anybody who's in distress or needs assistance.
That's the way that we start things off right here at Radio Free Canada. I'm Darren Howard.
And I'm Robert Nisbet.
Video radio right here for you, recorded on July the 5th, 2013. And what do we got today?
Well, you know, there may have been a little item in the news the past little while about NSA spying.
Really? NSA, what does that stand for?
That would be National Security Agency.
I thought that stood for a collector of cat pics.
Oh, that would be it too.
We got it. Here's the clip for you right away.
The eyes are watching. The Department of National Defense confirmed the government uses what's called metadata to track data trails of suspicious activity. A poll commissioned by the federal privacy watchdog more than a year ago said 82% of Canadians were against giving police and spy agencies the power to access emails and online data without a court warrant. Still, critics say Canadians should be demanding more answers in light of the recent revelations.
So you're just being fed a lot of nonsense about celebrities, about hockey players, and then you forget reality, and then it hits you. The economy is crashing, you're being surveyed, you're being watched by your politicians, and then everything ensues, and your society is broken down.
Defense Minister Peter MacKay says the program is for foreign threats. The Privacy Czar promises to look into the program, while several groups like the Civil Liberties Association and the Council of Canadians want the government to reveal the parameters of its intelligence operation. Analysts say it is not clear what sort of information the government is allowed to collect, and members of parliament admit they are not privy to the information.
What's more, the U.S. and the UK have legislative oversight over intelligence gathering. Canada, however, does not.
The American government says its program has prevented acts of terrorism. Meanwhile, it was recently reported Canada used its program to spy on diplomats during the London G20 meetings. Ashante Hathaway, Press TV, Montreal.
So the number there, 80% of Canadians think that they should not be creepy and weird.
Well, you know, what does that say about the other 20%?
Well, they're supporters of creepy and weird. I don't know. These guys are mess. They're scared to death of their own shadows. They don't realize we live in the most peaceful, well-organized society, and government has absolutely nothing to do with that.
Absolutely not. But you know, it's a good thing this spying program was in place, or we may have had a disaster on Canada Day.
We could have, it could have, like that pressure cooker thing, it's scaring me right now, man.
Are you scared yet?
I'm afraid. I'm afeared. It is. But it's Radio Free Canada. We're here to mock the police state as it gets installed around us right here in Canada. Make sure you check our facts, though. We're not saying that you should trust us. You have the internet in a brain cell. Want to run this? Yes?
Yes, indeed.
Because we're going to be mocking all the way through. Thanks for checking this out.
People in Victoria were celebrating Canada Day with enthusiasm, but the RCMP says 2 people now in custody. If they had carried out their plan, the day would have been marked with carnage and death.
It couldn't get more patriotic than this. Victorians gathering on the lawn of the BC legislature to make a gigantic Canadian flag. But behind the dancing and the kids with small flags, an act of violence was set to unfold. 3 bombs were supposed to explode. And police say the people behind the plot, 2 BC residents from Surrey, Amanda Cordy in her late 20s and John Stewart Nuttall, 38. The 2 allegedly turned ordinary pressure cookers into improvised explosive devices filled with rusted nails, nuts, bolts, and washers. The Canada Day suspects were inspired by what investigators call an al-Qaeda ideology. But the RCMP says there was no indication the suspects were part of an international organization or carrying out orders from outside Canada. RCMP were tipped off about the plot by the Canadian Security Intelligence Service, and back in February began Project Souvenir, an integrated covert operation. They weren't providing many details about how that worked, but they did admit they were involved enough to allow the plot to unfold while making sure the bombs wouldn't go off. The two suspects were arrested in Abbotsford yesterday afternoon, and the Victoria Canada Day celebrations proceeded without a hitch. The BC Premier made a point of holding a news conference on the grounds of the legislature.
Now, Nuttall and Cordy are each charged with 3 terrorism-related offenses. They appeared briefly in a Surrey courtroom later today, and they will be back in court while remaining in custody this time next week.
So, first of all, why didn't one of the reporters say, do you have someone more credible than the RCMP to give us this report? I mean, do you have any outside credibility here?
I know.
Someone we could trust.
Well, I think it's safe to say that the CSIS informants are safely in custody.
I got an FBI feeling about this. I mean, they're starting this in February. They're saying that, there was no chance that this could go off.
Because the explosives were inert. And if you look at those pressure cookers, they haven't been modified in any way to withstand pressure, which is required for a massive explosion. The 2 perpetrators have not adopted Muslim names.
I know.
So, I mean, this isn't even a good sting operation. I mean, I'm sorry, this crap don't work on me.
I think it's a great big fail, a great big false flag. My personal opinion is they got to stop this nonsense of saying that they're doing a good job when they're wasting billions of dollars on job security.
Well, it's a good thing they had that $3.1 billion for. Oh, wait a minute.
Wait, what was that for?
For anti-terror funding.
Right. Yeah.
So this is the best they can come up with. That's pretty lame, boys.
And the weirdest part is that they're watching us right now. I mean, come on, guys, get a life.
Yeah,
you got to realize surfing porn, going on vacation, stuff like that, that's not a life. Whatever. At any rate, we're trying to administer medicine to the dead right now, and we'll quit doing that and run something about something that's true and close to my heart. Yes, my mask.
A bill that bans the wearing of masks during a riot or unlawful assembly and carries a maximum 10-year prison sentence with the conviction of the offense became law today. Bill C-309, a private member's bill introduced by Conservative MP Blake Richards in 2011, passed third reading in the Senate May 23rd and was proclaimed law during a royal assent ceremony in the Senate this afternoon. They really are scared of the closing scene of V for Vendetta becoming a reality, apparently, in Canada. But no, all governments believe that the more they assert their rights and impinge on the rights of individual citizens, the safer they will be in their racket. Richards, MP for Wild Rose, said the bill is meant to give police an added tool to prevent lawful protests from becoming violent riots, and that it will help police identify people who engage in vandalism or other illegal acts. The bill is something that police, municipal authorities, and businesses hit hard by riots in Toronto, Vancouver, Montreal, and other cities in recent years were asking for, according to Richards. As he said, the provisions of my bill are effective immediately, which means police officers across Canada now have access to these tools to protect the public from masked rioters.
Okay, so this is me wearing a mask.
Oh, you look scary.
I am. Be afraid, because currently right now I'm recording with a mask on. It's not a protest rally.
No, and it's not an unlawful assembly.
That's right.
What exactly is an unlawful assembly? Is it what they say it is?
Yeah, freedom of speech in action. Yes, that's an unlawful assembly.
So you get 10 years.
Yeah. I'd like the NSA to know that I'm wearing a mask right now while I'm recording, just because they're kind of creepy and weird. By the way, CSIS, I said bomb parts while I was wearing a mask.
I like the word pressure cooker. And hey, for all those who want a real laugh, I'm not suggesting that you go out and leave pressure cookers in public places.
Yeah, please don't do that.
Because that would be very disruptive.
No. Okay, I got to get this off. It's too hot. It's like, July in Canada. RCMP, they're breaking into people's houses.
And taking their personal possessions.
They're already impatient. Now anger is building about what has happened while they've been out of their homes.
We're supposed to be here to protect us, to keep looters away, and they're the ones doing the looting.
Hey, look at this, eh? Look at our tax dollars. Yeah.
It came to a head yesterday as word spread among High River residents. The RCMP had seized hundreds of guns from evacuated homes. The RCMP's own video of the days following the flood shows they did go into houses.
Looking for any signs of anybody who's in distress or needs assistance.
But the force says it only took guns that posed a safety risk.
There's absolutely no way, no how you can justify going into people's homes and taking their property without a warrant. This is Canada. We have laws here.
And while the law in a state of emergency like this one allows the police to do exactly what they did, some gun owners say police have crossed the line.
They knew there's nobody in them homes. They're still kicking doors down and walking in with muddy feet all over your personal things, and they had no right to being in them homes.
The RCMP says all the guns have been tagged with owners' information, and once the gun owners are back in their homes, they will get them back. Carolyn Dunn, CBC News, High River, Alberta.
So those of you who think that we live in some sort of freedom, we don't.
No, we don't. I mean, they've got all these gun owners' names now.
Uh-huh.
So if there's an incident...
But they've got the big questions to answer. How did they know what homes they were going into? Who was targeted, what reason, why, and no matter how they paint it, there's such a small minority of citizens that got their rights violated. They are not protecting the general public.
No, they are not.
Okay, at all. Canadians have more guns than the Americans do, but we have 1/10 the murder rate by guns than the Americans do. Our society is far safer and more responsible.
And also, we don't take as many SSRIs or antipsychotic medication as they do down south either.
Yeah, I think that really does have something to do with it. Real quick, while we got a chance, yes?
Yes, more exploitation.
Okay, Canadian corporations, hang on.
Like minotaurs in a labyrinth, massive earth movers haul precious ore from the heart of the mountain. It ends up here, powdered and enriched, ready to be smelted into silver, lead, and zinc. But this has been going on for 4 decades and isn't the real reason Canada's El Dorado gold is in northern Greece. It's investing $300 million this year and $1 billion more over several years. The reason is gold, at least 8 million ounces of it, worth over $11 billion on today's market. It would turn this crisis-weary country into Europe's biggest gold producer and has already created 1,500 jobs. The trouble is that the gold is thinly spread, sometimes less than a gram per ton of earth, so massive digging is required. Such heavy industry in the midst of pristine forest has sparked a war among locals. These fears have broken into open conflict. Last February, dozens of people torched El Dorado offices and vehicles, causing $1 million worth of damage. And they've been back since to threaten workers, so police are now a fixture here.
Mining has coexisted for decades with farming and tourism here, but it now sharply divides the region because of its increasing scope and intensity. There is no longer any understanding between those who work for El Dorado Gold and those who distrust everything it says.
The conflict has become political. The government openly supports the investment, but opposition parties are covertly undermining it. In the midst of the economic crisis, El Dorado could open a Greek fault rather than cement it. John Psaropoulos, Al Jazeera, in the Chalkidiki Peninsula of northern Greece.
So it's not coming up all roses?
Not really, no. Even though they are creating some jobs in Greece, I don't know. There's no jobs on a dead planet. I'm sorry.
Right here, we're going to be promoting the Municipal Sustainability Program so that we can be done with all this banking-operated monetary system.
Exactly, and this fractional reserves lending.
Yeah, that just doesn't work. We're going bankrupt on the planet, and the governments are allowing it to occur. But we're there to sit there and say, nah, there's better ways to do things.
I'm sorry. I'm calling bovine excrement on you.
We've got great segments that we're lining up for you. A little bit out of order when they go up on the internet, so please jump around. I'm Darren Howard.
And I'm Robert Nisbet.
And we're so well coordinated today. We are. Find my YouTube channel. You'll find Radio Free Canada, the genesis of what we're doing. And we've got some serious documentaries coming up. We've got 10 Years After, Warriors and Thieves. That's coming up.
We've got Freeloaders.
And that's going to be a big special talking about what we were talking about today. But we're urging you to start up your own radio station, start up your own newspaper, and speak the truth. Remember, if you're one person standing up speaking the truth, you're still one person standing up and speaking the truth, and we're there to back you up. The revolution's occurring. We're televising. Thanks for tuning in. We're back with more.